Very good. Chair now recognizes Mr. Krishnamoorthi from Illinois.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As the ranking member of this select committee on the strategic competition with the CCP, I'd like to start off by saying that in addressing the threat of the CCP, we have no quarrel with the Chinese people or people of Chinese origin or Asian origin for that matter. That's why we should never engage in any anti-Chinese or anti-Asian stereotyping or prejudice. And I think, Mr. Comer, you started off with that sentiment at the start of this hearing. So I want to just say thank you, and I hope everybody remembers that today as we discuss the CCP competition. General Spaulding, while we don't agree on everything, I know we agree on this. One, the CCP is a very real threat, and two, the CCP wants to see Republicans and Democrats divided. You wrote on X last year in this tweet that, quote, there are three major parties in American politics. There's the Democratic Party, the Republican Party, and the Chinese Communist Party. In particular, the CCP seeks to keep the other two fighting. So, General Spaulding, you'd agree that the CCP seeks to keep Democrats and Republicans fighting with each other because as long as we fight, the CCP can continue to sow doubt about U.S. leadership, right?
Thank you, Congressman. Absolutely.
And in doing so, they also can discredit democracy in favor of dictatorships, right?
That's part of the campaign.
And divide us with regard to our approach to countering CCP military aggression, correct?
It's more about getting us to not counter their political aggression, although military aggression will come into play at some point.
I agree that partisanship is really unproductive when we are up against this very serious threat of the CCP, and I hope that we can at least unite in recognizing the challenges facing us, although we might disagree about how to approach them. Next, I want to talk about another topic, namely biotech and the CCP's influence over one of our critical supply chains, namely pharmaceuticals. Mr. Mattis, I know you're familiar with the PRC biotech company called WuXi AppTec, correct?
That's correct.
They're one of the biggest biotech companies in the world, and many American companies actually contract with them to produce their pharmaceuticals. Now, Xi Jinping himself has repeatedly highlighted biotech's importance to the CCP's national goals. And you agree that the WuXi AppTec company is critical to CCP achieving those biotech national goals, right?
That's correct.
Here's the thing. Published reports say that WuXi is transferring U.S. intellectual property to Beijing without consent. So in order to get ahead, WuXi AppTec is stealing American intellectual property, correct?
I believe that's correct, although we haven't proven it in a court of law yet.
Well, I've introduced the Biosecure Act on a bipartisan basis, which prevents federal taxpayer dollars from flowing to biotech companies of concern, including WuXi AppTec. WuXi has been lobbying against that bill furiously on Capitol Hill, claiming that, quote, they have no relationship with the CCP and somehow they are a private company. But Mr. Mattis, these are falsehoods, right?
That's correct, because even if a company is ostensibly private inside the PRC, if it's hosting a party committee, if it's intimately connected with national strategies like the military-civil fusion development strategy, you're talking about a company that has sort of geared its progress and its orientation toward the party's interests and will be responsive to the party's demands.
Mr. Comer, I know you care about this issue, and I hope we can collectively pass the bipartisan Biosecure bill sooner rather than later to address this very real threat with regard to biotech. I'll turn to my final topic, and this is related to Taiwan. Recently, I went to Taiwan on a bipartisan CODEL to discuss the importance of deterring CCP aggression. Interestingly, the #1 topic that came up in every single meeting in Taiwan was Ukraine. Every single person that we met with in Taiwan asked us, are you going to pass aid to Ukraine? Why? Because they see it as vital in sending a message to Beijing to deter military aggression by Beijing against Taiwan. So, Colonel Newsham, you'd agree that the CCP is closely watching our support for Ukraine to inform its own approach to Taiwan, right?
Yes, they're watching it closely. They're also watching it regardless of what we do. It's the outcome of Putin's invasion of Ukraine. They're watching it very closely, and they're learning their lessons.
You can't be strong on Taiwan and weak on Ukraine. And so I hope that this week, more than any other week, we remember that and we pass aid to Ukraine now. Thank you so much, and I yield back.